Oh, hey, gang. So I recently got into diorama making. It was something I always wanted to try, and I have always liked creative stuff and doing art and whatnot. As a kid, I used to make my own costumes and stuff. I'd give my wrestling action figures new belts and make up stuff and, do custom stuff on my action figures and whatnot all the time as a kid. As I got older, I thought, why not give it a try? It looks fun. I made this trash can just out of a roll of toilet paper and some alfoil. I just bent it around it and then made the lid and glued on the little top bit. But yeah, it's just all alfoil and a toilet paper roll. And then I just painted it and sort of made it look gritty. Of course, I made trash bags to go with it because that just makes sense, right? But once I'd done that, I wanted to try more things, try like bigger things, The next thing I worked on was this piece, which is just like a street scene, sort of brick wall that's been damaged with a little bit of road and a little bit of like a sidewalk. I just used your standard sort of foam that you get, like packing foam for this one, because I'd never really done anything like this before, and I'm brand new to it, so I'm just learning as I go. And this was a good piece for that. It's mostly just the foam wall and floor, and then the sidewalk is just a bit of cardboard. But I've got some ceramic like painting putty and put it over it, and it gave it that kind of concrete texture, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, this is all glued together, so it's one piece. It's never coming apart. So that was one lesson learned. I'd never tried aging paint like this before either, so you can see that the brickwork's pretty dodgy, and that the paint eventually all just kind of melded into a dark red. So I eventually figured out that I needed XPS foam, which is like the foam that you see in the Lord of the Rings outtakes, the ones where the guys have got the machetes and they're like cutting down like big chunks of it to make rock.
Out this miniature.
They were just urethane pits that we'd carved out of this foam and put all this sort of stuff in there, and then all of a sudden it's come to life. It's moving and it's smoking and it's seething with life, and that was brilliant. Now they were at 1/60th scale. They stand about 8 feet tall, and they were sculpted out of urethane foam, which is a rigid foam. Yeah, instant aging. You realise this is a top secret process developed over 1 million years by cavemen and model makers alike.
It's the exact same sort of stuff. It's really fun to work with, and if you treat it right, you can do just about anything. So this was the first piece I made when I finally got some XPS foam. I was just testing, essentially trying to figure out what I could do with it, and I had somewhat of a plan of what I wanted to make, but I knew a good way to do it would be to make smaller pieces and then combine them all at the end. I use silver paint in my concrete and whatnot, as well as grey. I just think the silver gives it that sort of blue steel look. It kind of looks like you can, when you look at concrete, you can see like the shininess and the bitumen. Kind of gives it that feel, so I really like that. So after I made the big slab, I made this smaller one, and I used wires to join the two pieces together, and I glued them in and then aged them appropriately. I always wanted to do something like a broken ground sort of stand on its own stand, so if I wanted to put like just one figure in there, I could. So that was the thinking with this one. I wasn't really happy with the way I aged this one, sort of in the carving. I would have liked to have carved it and made it look a little more natural. But again, I'm just learning, and this was the next step. So after I'd made the two smaller sort of stands, I made this massive one, which was going to be the base of sort of everything. It was a bit different, sort of having to figure out what I was going to do and how I wanted it to look. And again, just learning as I went, with aging and how to make it look a little more natural, and then painting. I'm no professional painter, that's for sure. But yeah, I think it came out good, and it's sturdy as all get out, and it fits in well with the diorama theme. Once I'd made all the bases, I then went into making walls. I wanted it to be like an abandoned sort of smashed building look. I used this piece as the back wall, and it's double-sided. So if you didn't want to have, the landing on one side, you could just have it on its own spun around on the other side for a different sort of scene. Yeah, I kind of wanted it to be like a destroyed building, and then have like a second floor that was all torn away and sort of opened it up so you could get more figures essentially into the diorama. I used balsa wood to make a beam along the middle there that's got magnets in it that holds on one section of the second floor. And on the back, I just went with a very simple sort of concrete wall with some graffiti that I wanted to put on there, but I haven't yet. But some posters and some aging and whatnot, just to give it that kind of feel. The side wall is brick on one side and then sort of damaged on the other side. And I tried to have sort of what it would look like beams and rebar and whatnot coming up through the middle of it. This piece sits underneath the crossbar, so it kind of closes off the right angle of the room. The decision to cut it diagonally was so I could have lights come through from one side or the other, and you could shoot in interesting directions if you wanted to take photographs. The second floor is made out of XPS foam and balsa wood on top. I laid it down like planks, like you would see in an old building, and then weathered them and broke them off to fit the mold. This piece has 2 magnets as well underneath it on the base, so it connects up against the back wall nicely. It also has a flat magnet underneath the top corner, so when the beam comes in to hold it up from the front, it's nice and stable. This piece is just to cover the floor level where the concrete sits. I wanted it to have sort of a broken floor, so I took a sheet of balsa wood and then more of those balsa wood sticks and kind of did the same thing as the top floor. But I've glued them in and aged them so it's all one piece. Just makes it easier and less messy. This was definitely a learn as you go type situation. This is my sort of rendition of a broken X-Men sign from Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted from X-Men. It's reversible, so you can use the other side if you want, so it's good as just filler for concrete rubble and whatnot. But if you've got something X-Men sort of designed, it works well there as well. I don't know if I've ever seen this anywhere. It's kind of, I feel like I'm pulling from a bunch of different things when I look at it. But yeah, it was fun to make. I made a bunch of sort of secondary items from leftovers, like this wire fencing sort of setup with some wood and concrete pillar at the bottom there. I also made a bunch of little wood piles, because whenever you see these kind of apocalyptic destroyed building scenes, there's always rubble and wood and everything everywhere, so I thought that they were kind of cool. My girlfriend actually painted this because my hands are too clumsy, but it's just a battery connector from an old guitar pedal that I had that I never used the battery section of. So I just cut the ends off and then found a little brass sort of pin and glued it on and painted it red. And yeah, I thought it looks cool. There's always like destroyed boxes and whatnot as well. So again, I just used the balsa wood sticks and put this together and aged it and just sort of made it look, weathered, like it had been destroyed. It's actually one of my favorite things that I've made. I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan, particularly the movies from the 90s. That's right up my alley. I was a little kid when they came out, so of course went and got like the action figures, and I had the Super Shredder, and he needed a throne. I thought, why not make one? And it's kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of concrete sort of setup, and it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's got like a purple shadow glaze like over it. It's kind of hard to see, but because of the silver paint, took the purple in like a white wood, I guess, and it made it kind of like a almost pearlescent purple in the edges, and I think it looks really cool. I also made this tree. I just wanted to try it. I saw a lot of people online making trees, and I thought I wanted to give it a go. And it's again, it's just XPS foam that I've carved down and shaped, and then again, I'm just using aluminium foil to make the more vinier sections at the bottom, and a little bit of sort of like a clay putty to try and get rid of any hard edges and whatnot. It's not my favorite thing I've made, but it does look cool in the background of photos. You blur it out a little bit, and yeah, I think it's cool. So yeah, I've been making a lot of diorama stuff recently. It's just fun, keeps me off the streets, as they say, and I really enjoy doing it. It's fun doing crafts and whatnot on the weekends, and keeping your mind active and being creative. There's so many like incredible diorama makers on YouTube that have given me all the tips essentially on how to do things, and some things I've learned on my own, but I've got to give a massive thank you to all the guys on YouTube that have been doing tutorials and showing people what to use and what not to use and how to save money, and I think that's just you doing God's work. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different for me, I know that. It's winter here in Australia, and going out and skating has been hard and freezing, and I've been way more prone to hurt myself in the winter, so I tend to take a step back a little bit. In saying that, I've had a lot of fun doing all of this kind of stuff in the meantime, and I'll probably keep doing it. If you've got an idea of what I should make next, put it in the comments. That'd be cool. If it's something I think is achievable, I'll definitely give it a try. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Peace.